Well, this is the results of our potting this year. Earlier on we potted many of these things up, some were already potted, and if you look back at the earlier potting sequence that we had, you'll see how these particular plants have developed through the summer. I'm just going to tidy one or two up, but we'll just discuss a few and how they look at the moment. I mean, just look at this, for instance, this Arundo Donax macrophylla, which means big leaves. We've had a lot of wind lately, and it's taken a bit of a battering. It may have got a bit dry too, but I've got secateurs here, and we're just going to look at one or two jobs that can be done. It does look pretty good, and it's going to look good for a while with the heuchera prints down at the base, the purple leaf heuchera. All we can do here at the moment is just trim a few of these dead looking leaves off here, and even if it looks a bit like a small tree when these are taken off, because there won't be any growth at the base, it will still be pretty effective. So that's a combination that will look good for another few weeks at least, and maybe into the winter. The evergreen Carex frosted curls, something we looked at. Again, we potted that earlier in the season, and it's on this pedestal, standing up here, and it's exposed to a lot of light. It has been drying out, it needs a lot of water, but it's really put on some growth. And look at the long growth that you've got here, just what we want, because as we come into the autumn and winter, this will get blown about in the wind and be quite a dramatic plant. Something we haven't really looked at, and I'm not sure, this gives an immediate effect, and it was done last year. I left them in the container for another year. This is a perennial called Rudbeckia Viet's Little Susie, and this flowers a little bit ahead of this aster, this selected aster here, which is just about to come into flower. The two of those will make a very nice combination. This is called Little Susie, but because I've fed and watered it, it's grown a bit taller than it should do. But it still looks very good and very late and very cheery. There's another Carex in here which we've just kept on its own, and it wouldn't really need to be put in an open position where you could actually see it, and it would turn bronzer in that case. But here are the flowering stars of the show that we've had going for us all summer. Some of these were potted. As you remember, we said there was going to be a bit of a competition between the two of them. This is Geranium Mavis Simpson, and look at all the growth that's been made there. So much growth, in fact, as it's coming to a cooler, shorter sunlight period, it's beginning to have much smaller flowers. Now all the vigour, of course, has gone into all of that, and it seems a bit cruel. It's really a decision which you have to make yourself. Do you want to leave it as it is, or do you want to just trim it up a bit more? I suggest that we perhaps trim some of these old bits off and give a bit more opportunity for the vigour to continue from the centre of the plant. And you can see how the growth is coming in the middle from here. If you look at the growth in there, just turn this back one here. Sometimes you prune from beneath and you don't actually see the cut so clearly, which is quite a good idea to do. So that, you can see it still looks pretty good. This, I think, really shows off how Geranium Rosanne behaves. This has been planted 2 or 3 years now, and actually wants feeding and watering and so on, but you see how the growth of the year has actually now almost come to nothing. You've got the red stems, but if we want it to flower later in the season, then give it a chance and do the cutting and pruning of these bits around the outside, and so that the middle growth can carry on and flower, I suspect, flower all the way through to the autumn frosts. So that's how you do that, and allow that more vigorous growth to come there. This is just beginning to do something similar here. This plant that we planted up in the spring, it's been full of flower all the way through the summer, and now we're coming to the very early autumn, I have a decision to make. Do I cut it back? It's still flowering very well there. I think that I will actually cut it back and tidy it up a bit, but leave some of the growth above, but we'll have some of that, take some of that off and allow the growth to continue and flower later on too. So I won't continue doing all that, but you get the idea. So the flowers vary a bit, of course, on the growth. Some of them are light and some of them are dark. That's due to weather conditions, I think. So this is so late summer going into autumn. We'll still have colour, and next time we'll look at things that look good in the autumn and winter.